In this video, I would like to discuss the aspects related to the kinematics of shaping machine and slotting machine. Let us start the discussion related to shaping machine kinematics. So here we will discuss three basic points. First one is related to what is quick return ratio, why it is always ensured greater than 1. And then we will talk about how to adjust the length of stroke and how to adjust the position of stroke. Let us start with what is quick return ratio. Quick return ratio means what? That is time taken for forward stroke to time for return stroke. So this is always greater than 1 because the forward stroke is nothing but the cutting stroke. So where it requires more time to do the cutting operation. Whereas return stroke is called as the ideal stroke, where not much time is required to come back to the initial position. So if we have this quick return ratio greater than 1, then productivity will be increased. Next one is adjustment of length of stroke. We will talk about this. First, let us start with the discussion related to what is the mechanism that is used in shaping machine, that is crank slotted lever mechanism. So what is this crank slotted lever mechanism? That is what we will discuss now. First, let us start with the motor here, and this is the belt pulley connection. So the line diagram for the transfer of motion from one part to the other part, or from one machine element to other machine element, is like this. First, let us have the motor, and then we have the belt pulley connection, and then we have the clutch. This is what is called as the clutch. And then we have the speed gearbox. How many stages are there here? 2 stages, and the maximum number of speeds that are possible is 6. And then we have this is called the bevel gear setup. Bevel gears. From bevel gears we have the worm and worm gear. And here worm gear is also called as the pinion. And this pinion is coming in contact with this bull gear. This is called as the bull gear. So the motion is transferred to the bull gear. And from bull gear through this crank, this is acting like a crank here. The bull gear itself is acting like a crank. And there is a sliding block here, you can see. That is the sliding block. So motion is transferred to the sliding block. And from the sliding block, motion is transferred to this lever, oscillating lever. And then the motion is transferred to the ram. And this is what is called as the ram. In this way, you will get the reciprocatory motion from the rotation of the motor. So let us look into these aspects in detail in the next slide. Here you can see this is what the pinion, and this is what the bull gear. And once this bull gear rotates, okay, then you have this block. This is called as the sliding block. And this sliding block will move along this slotted lever, either in the upward direction or in the downward direction. That is depending on exactly at what location it is about to rotate with respect to the crank. When this sliding block is moving in this slot, then this lever, oscillating lever, is oscillating, and it is transferring the motion to this ram. And the ram is going to have the forward motion. Okay, once the forward motion is completed, then you will have the return motion, return stroke. Now let us look into the next aspect, that is related to how to adjust the length of stroke. How to adjust the length of stroke, that was explained here in this particular slide. So what we are going to do is, if we can able to adjust the position of the block with respect to the center of this bull gear, then we can able to adjust the length of stroke. So how we can do that? This is done by using this set of bevel gears. These are the 2 bevel gears which are available here. And if you can see, this is what is called as the block. Okay, and here if you rotate this bevel gear, this particular bevel gear, then this bevel gear is rotated. This is rotated. This is nothing but the screw which is rotating. Once it is rotating, then this nut can move away from the center or towards the center. It depends on what? It depends upon the rotation of the bevel gear, that is in the clockwise direction or counterclockwise direction. Now if you see this particular figure, then if this sliding block, if it is very close to the center of the bevel gear, then this is what is called as the length of stroke. So how we can decide the length of stroke? That is simply drawing the tangent with respect to the pinion of the oscillating lever to the crank pin circle. This is called as these two are called as the crank pin circles. So now if you place this sliding block far away from the center of the axis, then we have this much as the length of stroke. That means if you are placing the sliding block far away from the center of the bull gear, then you will get very large length of stroke compared to the other figure which was shown here. In this way we can able to adjust the stroke length in the shaping machine. Next one is how to adjust the position of stroke. So that is explained here. Here if you can able to rotate this particular handle, then the motion is transferred to this screw by using the set of bevel gears, and you can see this is what the nut which is attached to the oscillating lever, and the position of this particular nut will decide the position of stroke. So what it actually means by position of stroke means where exactly the tool has to begin its forward motion. That is decided by what? The position of stroke. Or indirectly what I can say, if you can that position of stroke is decided by where exactly this nut was placed with respect to this screw. Okay, so in this way we have discussed about the three aspects related to the shaping machine. Now let us move into the other aspect that is related with the automatic feed motion. How to achieve automatic feed motion in shaping machine? Again we have the motor. This is the belt pulley connection. This is the speed gearbox, and then motion is transferred to the bevel gears. From this bevel gear to this worm and worm gear, from worm and worm gear to this bull gear, and this bull gear to this crank. Okay, so now let us move back to this. This is acting like a crank. Before going to this discussion, first let us start with what is the corresponding mechanism for this. So here you already studied in the kinematics of machine. There is a 4-bar mechanism which is called as the crank rocker mechanism. So here this is acting like a crank. This is acting like a connecting rod. And this is acting like a rocker or the follower. So now what we know is based on the lengths of these cranks, okay, you are going to get the crank rocker mechanism. So if this crank is rotated by 360 degrees, the motion is transferred from the crank to the connecting rod, but rocker will only oscillate about these two positions. Okay, like this. So it will oscillate in this way, in between these two extreme ends. This is called as the crank rocker mechanism. We are going to utilize this crank rocker mechanism here. So this crank is also called as the driving disc here. And this driving disc is connected to the connecting rod. Okay, how this driving disc is rotated? This driving disc is rotated by a engagement with the bull gear. Okay, and this connecting rod is connected with this fulcrum. And this fulcrum is nothing but here rocker. Okay, so now let us understand, if this driving disc is rotated by half of its rotation, okay, then this this is called as the fulcrum, and this fulcrum here we have this pawl. This is called as the pawl, and this is called as the ratchet. So here what happens, if it is rotated by half of its rotation, then this rocker is rotated in the clockwise direction. When this rocker is rotated in the clockwise direction, due to the pawl is beveled at this end, this pawl will slide over the ratchet without transferring the motion from ratchet to the without transferring motion from fulcrum to the ratchet. So there is no motion that is transferred during this half of rotation of the crank. But remaining half of the rotation, what happens? This ratchet will rotate in anti-clockwise direction, and because of this pawl will transfer the motion to this ratchet, and the shaft of this ratchet wheel is going to rotate. And what is this shaft? This shaft is nothing but cross feed screw of the table. So let us go back to the initial figure. So this is called as the cross feed screw of the table. So what happens here? Once this bull gear rotates, then this crank or driving disc rotates, and this driving disc transfer the motion to this connecting rod, and this connecting rod is transferring the motion to the ratchet. So but this ratchet is oscillating only for one of the rotation in the clockwise direction, for the remaining half in the anti-clockwise direction. When it is moving in the anti-clockwise direction, then only it is transferring the motion to the shaft of the cross feed screw. Then the table is going to have a feed motion. So what exactly happens here is, during the forward stroke, there is no motion that is transferred from from this fulcrum to the ratchet wheel, and so there is no cross feed movement for the table. But during the return stroke, that is the other half of rotation of the driving disc, the motion is transferred to this cross feed screw through this fulcrum, and so we are achieving this cross feed movement. This is what related to the automatic feed motion, which is related to the shaping machine. Now let us move to the other aspects related to the slotting machine, that is kinematic aspects related to the slotting machine. Here the mechanism which is utilized is called as crank piston mechanism. So this is acting like a crank, this is acting like a connecting rod, and this is what is called as the piston. Okay, so this connecting rod is rotated by 360 degrees. This is rotated by 360 degrees, and so you are having the reciprocatory motion for the piston. And here, if you look at this figure, this is what is called as the motor, and this is what is called as the belt pulley connection. And here, this is called the belt pulley connection is transferring the motion to this driving shaft, and here it is acting like a crank, and this is called as the connecting rod, and finally this is what is called as the ram or the piston here. And here there is no quick return ratio, because the time taken for the forward stroke is exactly same as the time taken for the return stroke, and so the quick return ratio is equal to 1. So now in this slotting machine, we can achieve intermittent feed motion by exactly the same mechanism which we discussed earlier, that is called as the ratchet and pawl mechanism. Okay, the same mechanism is operated even here also. So what happens is, the motion is transferred from motor to belt pulley connection, belt pulley to this driving shaft. Okay, so from this driving shaft you have worm and worm gear here. This is what is called as the, let me erase everything. So from the driving shaft to this worm and worm gear. So from this worm gear to this gear, which is rotating this crank, and this is acting like a connecting rod. And this is also called as the driving disc, which was shown in the earlier figure. and this is called as the fulcrum. And this is what is called as the ratchet wheel. Okay, so during one half of the rotation, the ratchet wheel is not transferring the motion to this feed rod. For the remaining half of rotation, the ratchet wheel is transferring the motion to this feed rod. What it means is, during the forward stroke, that is half of the rotation of this crank, there is no motion that is given to the table. Simply the table is stationary. But during the return stroke, that is the other half of rotation of the crank, the motion is transferred to this through this ratchet and prowl mechanism to this feed rod, so that the table can be provided with any kind of feed motion. So what are the feed motions we can provide here? That is the vertical feed. Sorry, not vertical. We can provide longitudinal feed, cross feed, and lastly we have rotary feed. Now let us look into the first longitudinal feed. As we understood that once the fulcrum is rotated, then that motion is transferred to this ratchet wheel through ratchet prowl mechanism. Then this feed rod is rotated. Once the feed rod is rotated, then you can see there is this set of gears here, and here this shaft is called as the longitudinal feed shaft. When these two gears are in engagement, then automatically you will get longitudinal feed motion for the table. That is based on what? Screw nut mechanism. Now let us talk about how to achieve the cross feed motion. When we are talking about the cross feed motion, these two levers are disengaged. This lever is disengaged. Now, once this feed rod is rotated, then you have this worm and worm gear setup. And again, this particular gear 1 is rotating. Okay, now let me name few more things. This is gear 2, this is gear 3. So if gear 1 is in engagement with gear 2, then we are going to get the rotary feed motion. If gear 1 is in engagement with gear 3, then we will get the cross feed motion. You can see here, this gear 1 may either come in contact with gear 2 or gear 3. Both the gears can't be engaged simultaneously. So if gear 1 is coming in contact with gear 2, or if it is transferring the motion to the gear 2, then we are getting the rotary feed motion. If it is transferring the motion to gear 3, then we are getting the cross feed motion. All these are called as the intermittent feed motion, that is taking place only in the return stroke of the cutting tool. And one more interesting point, or one more important point which I forgot here, is how to adjust the feed movement. Okay, so we can adjust the feed movement here, that is by this pin, crank pin. Okay, the location of the crank pin with respect to the center of these driving discs, that will decide the amount of feed motion given to the table. So if this crank pin is very, very close to the center of the driving disc, then the feed motion or amount of feed given to the table is very small. If it is far away, that is just like shown in the figure, then we are giving very large amount of feed to the table. Now let us look into the other points which are related to the slotting machine. Now how to adjust the length of stroke. So that is adjusted by what? That is adjusted by adjusting the location of this pin with respect to the center of the crank. This distance, if you adjust this distance, automatically you can adjust the length of stroke. This is very much similar to what we discussed in shaping machine. Similarly, how to adjust the position of stroke? That is adjusted by what? There is a handle here. If the handle is rotated, again there is a screw nut mechanism which is operating inside the ram to adjust the position of stroke. Position of stroke will decide what? It will decide where exactly the forward stroke has to be initiated. So that is very much similar to what we discussed in in the shaping machine. So you can see here the position of this particular distance d will decide what? That will decide the length of stroke, and the position of stroke is decided by what? Position of stroke is decided by the location of this nut with respect to the screw. Okay, so this is what all about the kinematics of shaping machine and planing machine. Thank you.